For the longest of times, I've been hyping up this kind of Lead Belchers plus Man-Eaters Ogre army build. However, even with my love for them, I still think that Ogre Kingdoms do not exactly have a single unit that can go well into every single matchup outside of perhaps the Slaughtermaster with Great Maul magic. And in this battle, I'll be on the other side of the battlefield, fighting against an Ogre build that I usually bring it myself, and I'll be playing as the Empire with a ton of Huntsmen, 4 of them in fact, backed up by 2 Hellblaster volley guns. Rather niche artillery right now, but they can do some devastating damage with their volley shots. For the rest of the army, a lot of Empire state troops going for a man-tied approach. 4 swordsmen, 4 more spears with shields, and then a few more Empire knights. As for the leadership, we have a single Witch Hunter, which was mostly there for the accusation to counteract a possible Crusher spam, especially for Sky Strider, but unfortunately today, my opponent is not fielding a single one, so he's pretty much useless. Now, in the skies, we have a Balthasar Gout with Searing Doom, Plague of Rust, and Final Transmutation, and that's it for the Empire build. For the Ogre Kingdoms, very standard stuff that I usually bring it myself. 3 Nobblers, 4 Nobbler Trappers, 4 Ogre Bulls, 2 with dual weapons, and then 4 more Saber Tusk packs backed up by 2 Man-Eaters, all of them protecting the 2 Lead Belchers in the middle, with a supporting Lord, Slaughtermaster of the Great Maul coming in with Bull Gorger, which is also a spell I really like to combine with the Man-Eaters, and also a Troll Guts for healing. Now that's it for the army builds. Now let's get to the battle itself. Now to begin with, both armies do not exactly have range on each other, since Hellblasters only have 290 range while the Lead Belchers only have 200 range. Now of course most of my opponent's army were not visible because they were behind the ridge, but as they move closer, they will also start to reveal parts of their army, especially the hidden ones, the Nobbler Trappers. I'll be moving in some swordsmen to absorb some of the shots from the trappers, while the Hellblaster volley guns will be, well, blasting away at some of the Ogre units. Yep, they are firing already. Huntsmen also shooting into some of these Nobbler Trappers. They're better reserved for shooting at the Ogre Bulls and the Man-Eaters, of course, but unfortunately I don't expect them to survive well into the late game, so I'm just using whatever ammo I can do to shut down the Nobblers and now move on to the Ogre Bulls, who are marching into shooting distance, taking massive damage already, especially if they're shot up by the Hellblasters. But right now the Hellblasters are targeting stuff in the middle here, doing some pretty nice damage. Searing Doom dropping in but mostly missing my opponent's army, doing some minor damage to the Nobblers. While the Saber Tusk packs moving in, trying to get through the gaps of my infantry line and get onto the Huntsmen, and they are quite successful indeed, but I do have some Empire Knights in reserve here to countercharge. And on top of that, rather unfortunate for my opponent on this one, the Saber Tusk being shot up by the Huntsmen, rampaging straight into the spears. One of his dual weapon Ogre Bulls and a Saber Tusk managed to get on one of the Huntsmen, but the Huntsmen somehow, despite having poor melee stats, held on with their decent leadership. While the rest of my units here, other Huntsmen managed to crossfire into the fray and shut them down. On the other side, Empire Knights surge out to push away the Saber Tusk, but that exposes them to the countercharge of the Man-Eaters, especially buffed up by Bull Gorger, up to 64 melee attack plus 129 weapon strength. Yep, these Empire Knights are not long for this world. They're way out of position, being close to the white line. Once they get routed, they would not be coming back. So Balthasar Gout will be moving in, seeing so many units clumped up onto a single spot, trying to drop a upgraded Final Transmutation into the fray. At the same time, the Man-Tide with their sheer numbers managed to hold on against the charge of the Nobblers and Ogre Bulls, all thanks to the Empire missile support behind them. One Ogre Bull was able to get onto the Hellblasters, but a Searing Doom should be able to finish them off, especially with some swordsmen coming in for support and Balthasar possibly coming in to drive them away as well. The Huntsmen have been doing a lot of damage onto the Lead Belchers as they approach a little too close to the front line here, allowing the 160 range of the Huntsmen to shut them down, while there are still multiple Huntsmen online right now. One of them are being harassed by the Saber Tusk, but if I start shooting them with the Hellblaster, she'd be able to finish them off with a quick hurry. Especially with the Saber Tusk pack now being hit by the accusation, so that perhaps, just perhaps, the Huntsmen can do a little bit more damage to them, but really the Hellblasters are doing most of the work. Man-Eaters are moving up with the support of the Lead Belchers blasting away at the Huntsmen. They're trying to get on to the Huntsmen right now, but they're also exposed to the Overwatch fire from the other Huntsman unit. The Lead Belchers also are not enjoying themselves being counterfired by the Hellblaster volley guns. They do not have enough range, only at 200 range, no match for the 290 range on the Hellblasters, so they are unable to continue their support for the Man-Eaters, leaving them to their own device, being surrounded by all kinds of Empire missiles. Though unfortunately for me, despite pushing off a lot of the Ogre Bulls, the Man-Tie defenses are buckling, with Nobblers surging into the backline. Some Saber Tusk packs are also getting onto one of the Hellblaster volley guns. I made a mistake on the Hellblasters ordering them to move forward, but instead they should have been retreating, but that doesn't really make a difference because they couldn't outrun the Saber Tusks. The Man-Eaters managed to get all the way towards the back here onto the Hellblaster, but with a surge of swordsmen, Balthazar himself diving down even the Witch Hunter, who's a half-decent duelist, is fighting them in melee. The Man-Eaters are not coming back anytime soon, wasting that massacre that buffs up their weapon strength and gives them fear and terror. Now, here comes another cast of Balthazar Gald's final transmutation, but for whatever reason, it dropped onto Balthazar himself, targeting himself, so he needs to move on to the Man-Eaters here. Wasted a few seconds of the damage, but still managed to cover up some of these Man-Eaters and start draining their health. It turned out okay, did some damage, not the best, but all things considered, not the worst either. Now the Ogres are making another push, shutting down my final Hellblaster volley guns. The Witch Hunter is holding them back with a Searing Doom bombarding the Man-Eaters. Surprising enough, Searing Doom is actually pretty decent even against monstrous infantry. Despite the Trollguts healing the Man-Eaters, I still have a lot of anti-large firepower from the Huntsmen, crossfiring into the fray, and the Man-Eaters will not be holding for long either. Spending so much time stuck on the Witch Hunter definitely costing the Ogre Kingdoms dearly in this fight. On the far side, some of the routed Lead Belchers earlier being shot up by the Huntsmen managed to come back, and they will still be a massive threat for my units to finish. While there are some tattered Empire Knights coming back, possibly trying to screen back the Nobbler Trappers here. A little bit of a dismember here, slowing down all my units in the vicinity. The Huntsmen are slowed down, the Spears are slowed down, but what is not slowed down is the Empire Knights slamming into the Nobblers, running them down with their iron hoofs and lances. Even Geld is dropping in to save the Huntsmen. While over here, some Huntsmen managed to regroup and will be moving on to the Lead Belchers once more. Their range is only slightly shorter than the Lead Belchers at 160, so all they need to do is move in slightly closer, and then their anti-large shots will be doing some nice damage to the Lead Belchers. Now the Slaughtermaster is at the back line here trying to shut down the Huntsmen, but the Huntsmen on guard mode are just ignoring him, shooting at whatever units they can get their hands on. Very unfortunate for me though, these Huntsmen are routed and possibly push off the white line, although I still have one very healthy unit of Huntsmen now being tangled up by some of the Nobblers, so Empire Knights slamming in. Balthazar Geld hovering on top of the Huntsmen, giving them some leadership boost, but honestly he should have just charged into the Nobblers and tried to push off the Ogre chaff as soon as possible. Either ways, the Slaughtermaster just isn't exactly great of a melee combatant, not really disrupting the Huntsmen really, just kind of being in the middle of that, shutting down a few unit models, but the rest, while being on guard mode, are just shooting, helping the swordsmen to push back the Nobbler Trappers, while the Man-Eaters, well, they are nowhere to be found. Wait, no, there's one unit over here. With their light armor, they are very susceptible to any kind of missiles, especially stuff with anti-large bonus, so the Huntsmen are just having a jolly good time at shooting them up. As a result, the Man-Eaters are really not getting that much of a value here, most of the time absorbing a ton of arrow fire. Lead Belchers now shooting at the Huntsmen, but with their loose formation, the damage to these missile units are not that effective. On the other side, Empire Knights being charged by the last hurrah of these Man-Eaters, they will be taking that fight with the support of some of these Huntsmen. The Knights themselves might rout in the process, but that buys enough time for the Huntsmen to completely eliminate the Man-Eaters. Now all that's left for the Ogre Kingdoms are this one unit of Slaughtermaster and some Ogre Bulls here trying to protect the Lead Belchers. Balthazar Geld diving down onto the Lead Belchers, shutting down their firepower, but seeing that the Ogre Bulls are there, he just noped out of there, allowing the Huntsman and possibly the Witch Hunter doing the rest of the work here, chipping away their health with some missiles. Now the Witch Hunter really not doing much here, getting only 300 gold worth of damage value. Well, considering he only cost 650 with nothing but accusation, this is not that bad of a deal after all. And in the late game he can still fight and shoot, so that is pretty fine for me. Another heal coming in for the Ogre Bulls, a Troll Guts, just trying to keep them topped up because there's no more Ogre units on the field. Balthasar Geld is seeing off the last of the Lab Belchers and Man-Eaters. The Nobbler Trappers are running for their lives. There are still some Nobblers on the field, but really not that much the Slaughtermaster can do. Fighting amidst Spearmen, he'll eventually be dragged down, and also don't forget the Witch Hunter is also still shooting, so he can possibly snipe him out if he actually land a shot. But there, I think he just landed a shot in his own man, so yeah, not too reliable with the line of fire with gunpowder units. Either ways, the Slaughtermaster will be dragged down by spears. At this point, the battle is decisively in the favor of Empire, and the Ogres will be hitting army losses. GG to my opponent Tudela here. He put up a really strong fight, and if not for all 4 of these Huntsman units, I would have totally lost this game. However, this is actually my second game playing against a similar Ogre build, so after losing the first game, I was able to tweak my build a bit and came up with this, bringing enough tools to deal with possible Crusher spam and also enough tools to shoot down a lot of these Ogre Bulls and Man-Eaters. For the army performances, the Hellblasters weren't doing much here because they're mostly there alongside with the Witch Hunters to shoot up possible armor spams from the Ogre Kingdoms, for example, Crushers and Iron Guts. None of these were present on the battlefield today, so the main burden to carry the game are left onto the Huntsmen, getting some amazing value, 1,800 gold. These guys got shut down early, but the other two, 1,300 gold and over 1,000 gold on this one. Mostly just using their anti-large shots to shoot up the lightly armored Ogre Bulls, Man-Eaters, and Lab Belchers, while the State Troops and Empire Knights, despite not doing much damage in battle, clean up most of the Nobbler infantry, or at least slow down the push of Nobblers, Man-Eaters, and Saber Tusks so that the Huntsman at the back has enough time to shoot, dishing out all the pain they need against the Ogre army. While Balthasar Geld here doing some pretty nice damage with the double Final Transmutation Overcast version. One of them got a little bit of a buggy cast, but overall still worked out fine for me. Ogre Kingdoms, unfortunately, with so many Huntsmen on the field, plus the Ogre artillery unit, the Lad Belchers being outranged by Hellblasters, the Man-Eaters got shot up pretty hard by the anti-large missiles, while the Lad Belchers also being pushed away by a combination of archer fire and Hellblaster shots. The Ogre Bulls also didn't do too well here, being shot up by anti-large firepower. These ones did some nice damage, but overall just not the greatest performance. Although Nobblers, being Nobblers, very cheap and cost-effective infantry and missiles, so did some pretty nice damage for their value. Saber Tusks not doing much here as they do not trade well into the heavily armored Empire Knights, although these ones possibly chasing off some of my Hellblaster volley guns, so good on them. To be fair, this Ogre build is very flexible and can deal with multiple factions. I would bring this against a lot of rush factions, for example Greenskin's Beastmen, but against the Empire with very strong missile game, what you need is to fully commit into the rush game. Personally, I would just spam Ogre Bulls and Iron Guts, but perhaps there are other ways to play it. Now, what would be your approach to this matchup? Feel free to leave a comment down below. That's all for today, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.